Now turning to an unsolved mystery and a surprising announcement today in Boulder, Colorado. More than 11 years after the murder of Jon-Benet Ramsey, the district attorney says her parents and brother have now been officially cleared of any involvement.
This is contestant number 15.
The body of Jon-Benet, a 6-year-old beauty queen, was found in the basement of her Boulder home the day after Christmas, 1996. Hours earlier, her mother, Patsy, said she had found a ransom note in the home demanding $118,000 for Jon-Benet's return. But investigations by police and prosecutors soon zeroed in on both Patsy and John Ramsey, Jon-Benet's father.
They do remain under an umbrella of suspicion, but we're not ready to name any suspects.
The Ramseys always denied killing their daughter, and today, Boulder DA Mary Lacy agreed. Lacy says new DNA technology has found evidence that some of the clothing worn by Jon-Benet when she was murdered had been handled by an unknown male. In a letter to John Ramsey, Lacy writes, "This evidence has vindicated your family, including you, your wife Patsy, and your son Burke." And the DA said, "I wish we could have done so before Mrs. Ramsey died." Patsy Ramsey died of ovarian cancer 2 years ago. Attorney Lin Wood has represented the Ramsey family for several years. Mr. Wood, what was John Ramsey's reaction to the news?
Well, John I would describe him as being extremely grateful for the fact that the investigation is still underway to find the killer of his daughter. Grateful for the fact that he and his family have now been publicly and officially cleared of any involvement in connection with the murder.
What can you tell us about the new DNA test that was used?
They tested the pajama bottoms that Jon-Benet was wearing at the time of the murder in what's called touch DNA. It's a relatively new science, but it in fact showed that there was DNA evidence on the pajama bottoms that in fact, once profiled, matched the DNA that had been found in her underwear and constituted irrefutable evidence that it's the DNA of the person that was there at that crime scene and murdered this child.
Boulder DA Mary Lacy described it as the DNA of an unexplained third party. Are there any suspects that are now being investigated or considered?
Not that I'm aware of. This case is going to be solved one day by a random hit on the DNA in the database. As you know, many cases that have been gone on cold cases for years, in fact, are solved years later by a random DNA hit.
Patsy Ramsey, as I mentioned earlier, died 2 years ago of ovarian cancer. If she were alive today, what do you think she would say?
I think, I think Patsy would hug everybody. That was one of the sad things when I learned the news today, that the fact that Patsy wasn't alive to receive the letter and to know that her family was exonerated publicly. But I can hear Patsy right now. I'm sure she would have looked over and said, "Now let's get busy and let's go find the killer of my child." She would have been very pleased that they were not focusing on her family, but were looking for the real killer.
Lin Wood, the Ramsey family attorney. Lin, thanks very much.
Thank you, Katie.